welcome to fall. It is winter, but I found the thing. Today, October 30th, 2019, impeachment! Who wants impeaches? I want 2 impeaches! The official impeachment inquiry, vote tomorrow! Yay! I'm so excited! Yay! This will be fun, 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 fun! So fun to see. We'll see what they do. Can't wait to see what the vote's gonna be. We'll see. They've been whining and whining, saying no vote, no vote, no vote, no vote, no vote, no vote. But there's a vote now, so what are they gonna do? Whine that there wasn't one fast enough? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Oh, Ukrainian Quid Pro Quo. Oh my gosh. Quid quo bono, quo bono, quo, quo, quo. Oh, so much Latin. Well, it's very clear what happened. They said, you do it or we do this. You do that, we do this. But that's illegal. They do this. So, impeachment! Yay! He died like a dog. He died like a dog. We see. He got up, he said, I'm not a dog, you're a dog. He died like a dog. Apparently they killed ISIS guy. I don't know, but he's dead. Not good in the head. Oh, Turkey. Turkey, you may go kill them. I didn't say it. You go kill them. You bad. I will do that. Everybody think you evil devil forever. But Turkey no there. Turkey and I said, no, I don't care. I don't care. Don't be tough guy. Don't be a fool. I'll call you later. Russians and bases now. I don't know. I don't know. It's fall. I'm happy. Let's see. No more Syria for U.S. We're done. We're done. No more. Hong Kong versus U.S. U.S. corporations say, money good. Give us money. Hong Kong say, you say nothing bad about China. U.S. people say, what? So much money. So much money. So many people. So much money. So many people. Such big markets. So much capitalism. Yay. Well, you can't say what? Oh. Huh? Republicans, they don't like Democrats. Democrats don't like Republicans. Democrats don't think Republicans are nice. Republicans don't think Democrats are American. This is going to be bad. It's going to be bad. We'll talk about it. It's bad. It's bad. Let's see. What else is going on in this world? My thing is scrolling too slowly. I wrote too much, and I will wait until it gets to the next one. This is going to get there. But yeah, there's people don't like each other. Oh, yeah, Trump campaign said Americans. Americans good, Democrats, not Americans, bad. Get guns, lots of guns. New amendment, need new amendment, 28th Amendment. We make a whole new one and say, no one sell your data. What's data? Who knows? It's our data. All right. How do I turn this off? Ciao, ciao, pew! All right, folks, welcome. So that was our fall spectacular. It's actually a little past fall here in Colorado. We got some snowstorms. Got about a foot of snow out on the front yard right now. Very nice stuff. I like it a lot. But not everybody does. Boop. Does that go away? How does that go away? I still can't figure out how this dang thing works. And I'm supposed to be like a super user. See when it does? There it is. See, but when I put it behind the thing, now we can see. Folks, what the hell, man? It's been 3 weeks, I know. Took some time off. We've got some sickness here in the house. Some sick folks. People are getting better, getting worse, get better, getting worse. Anyway, we'll see how it goes. Big news over the last 3 weeks, right? It is official. We got the Impeachment Inquiry is going to be voted on tomorrow. There's a lawsuit about this going back and forth a little bit about how they officially made it an impeachment inquiry but didn't have the official vote. So all the Republicans were like, well, what about this and what about that? And all the time Pelosi's like, well, we can have a vote whenever we want to. But we're going to start investigating things. So they've done these investigations. The Republicans are all complaining, like big stunts. Like the last few weeks have been nuts. Because they're having these hearings and they bring in these witnesses, and all these witnesses are like, yeah, it happened. Just like we said, it's very clear, by the way, what's happened here. And we'll talk about that here in a minute. But and I'm getting a little cart before the horse, which is kind of the idea. And this is the big defense that they're going to try and use. It's not that he didn't do it or that it wasn't wrong. It's that it's unfair to hold him accountable for what he did. Which, yeah, it's that's what all their setup is this is just an unfair process. The president, the full vote is expected tomorrow, so I do get my birthday present, right, which is going to be an official impeachment inquiry for the President of the United States. Well deserved. So even this is one of the just random fact reading about Andrew Johnson, his impeachment. One of the things that they actually wrote in his impeachment inquiry, or his articles of impeachment, was that he was being a dick. Like he was just talking a bunch of shit. That was actually made it. It didn't actually, I don't think that one actually passed the House, so it didn't go to the Senate. So they're going to give a nice long list of things, and then they're going to come up with all these things that he's officially charged with, right? Because this is how it works now. Again, a lot of people don't quite understand, but the U.S. law and the U.S. Constitution has a little black hole at the center of it. And this is the root of any kind of logic problem. This is the whole Moo puzzle from Go to Lecture and Walk. But whenever you have a system where you have an executor of the law, you have to have this kind of space where they can freely do it without constantly being bogged down by people claiming that they weren't. So they do have kind of not an immunity, but just the idea is that this person would be vetted to such a point that they would not blatantly violate the law as they do. So our normal system of law really can't deal with a lawless president. It has to, per the Constitution, come through the Congress. This is why, again, the vote last November was so huge to get the House back and to get this kind of actual power. Because, again, without any of this happening, we wouldn't be seeing much at all. It would be a very, very, very... The filibuster would be gone. So anyway, the president, again, made another media firestorm. And it's fun doing these shows every few weeks because you get to see a little bit of the perspective of these media firestorms that dominate, I'm sure, cable news for days. And again, just for the record, I don't have cable news. I don't subscribe to it. I don't encourage other people to. I highly recommend you just read the news, get Google News or some other aggregator, and just read what you need to. Facebook's not bad if you can find good people who share good stuff, but I haven't been sharing a lot of news stories lately. And this impeachment inquiry has been eaten up a little bit more, which has been good, I guess, because there's a lot of stuff that's had to come out. And there's a bunch of people that keep coming out. Even today, there was a deputy national security advisor who quit. And then he's like, yeah, I'm going to come testify. I'm pretty sure one of these people is the anonymous writer that we've heard about. I mean, there's a lot of folks involved here. The one that came out the other day, and this is moving on to the quid pro quo that happened, which is you do this for me, I do that for you, right? The quid, the money, for, pro, the quo, the action. So in this case, of course, it's saying, hey, we're trying to hold... And this is what's so bad about this, right? Because you have Ukraine in an active war with Russia right now, as Russia is invaded and trying to take over. And so holding up money that they desperately need, in order for this, political favor, right? And it was very clear, hey, it doesn't matter if there's anything, I just need you to announce publicly that you're investigating the guy. And so then that's going to be their whole smear thing. That was going to be their whole smear strategy on Biden. They're going to smear whoever, right? If anybody is out there thinking that somehow there's going to be some sort of Democratic nominee for president who's not going to be wildly and horribly smeared by the Republican establishment, I have news for you. Welcome to planet Earth, and that's not going to happen. So the question is what form the smear is going to take, not whether it's going to happen. And that's what it was going to be for Biden, was that he's just hopelessly corrupt and part of all this. Even though he didn't do anything wrong. And you have literally, and this happened over the last few weeks as they were trying to make this a bigger deal, you had the Trump children going on Fox News and talking about how Hunter Biden, who wasn't even like part of this, was a super nepotism. But Biden never actually gave him a job. And this is what's so weird about it too. Of course this looks sketchy, right? And I don't encourage any of this stuff. It's what's really wild and horrible from the long-term moral perspective of this, and why this is a good country swirling around a drain, which is what it feels like, because you have people and you have a situation like with Biden and his family, and he loses his wife and his daughter, and his 2 sons survive, and he has a little bit of a, Cain and Abel situation there, where he's got an older son who's a golden boy and a younger son who's, a little bit jealous, or something's a little bit off, and one of them takes this great path and the other kind of just keeps bouncing around and not. And then the one that did great ends up dying of cancer after serving honorably and coming back, and the one who didn't do either of those things. And so it's one of those situations where and it's like holding Biden's sons against him is just an understanding of the kind of moral depravity that you see in a political moral depravity when we're in this kind of complete moral vacuum that Donald has brought us. The Al-Baghdadi Raid. The thing, and this is, it's great that they got this guy. I guess there was an ISIS, but again, ISIS didn't ever attack us here. I understand I'm not a big fan of them by any stretch of the imagination, but again, it's not like, why? I mean, so we take out the governments there, this other religious government pops up there, we take that out and now go after the leader there. And that's great and all if that's what everyone wants, but this isn't someone who attacked us here or planned to. So anyway, and then this announcement, if you watch it, you will not think that the President of the United States is of sound mind. He can't continue, he can't complete a sentence, he can't complete a thought, he can't control this. He has no decorum. It's really, really disturbing. And there have been a few mashups that have gone out, but go and watch the thing for a few minutes. It's really pretty disturbing to think that. And I think that's why you see so many of these generals now coming out, and so many of these military folks, and people who are very serious people, right? Who don't get to smile for a living, and deal with, news of death constantly, which tends to put a damper on office humor. But they're coming out against him because I think a lot of people now see that this needs to happen. And then you have the Turkey situation that's also happened over the last few weeks, right? So the president comes out and he just, and this is while all this impeachment buzz is going and more stuff's coming out about these summer calls that happened with the Ukraine and how, he basically held him over a barrel, held his money back. And so, trying to distract from this, now we have this call with Erdogan in Turkey and basically saying, yeah, we're pulling out, you guys can do what you want. But then also sending this letter, like, don't be a tough guy, don't be a tough guy, don't be a fool. I'll call you later. I mean, it's what is this? Like the actual letterhead. The people in Turkey were like, well, the response, our operation, where they did exactly what he told them not to do, was the response to that letter, and also that, it will be addressed later. They called it ridiculous. And this is Turkey. I mean, you have authoritarian governments making fun of us because of our ineptitude. That's just not a good thing. That's not where we want to be as a country. We abandoned bases, so you have literal Russian forces walking into these bases that we had out. And the whole Syria debacle, and I guess this really draws an end to it. I haven't been happy with this from the get-go, not that I'm just whatever. I wish I could rewind the world, make 10 of them, right, and play each scenario out differently. There would be one where I would have been a lot more aggressive with Assad, as Obama, I think, should have been early on, because we never put in enough effort to actually get him out of power, trying to rely on folks that weren't there. And then when it started to get close, Russia stepped in and turned the tide back the other way. When the stalemate started to really eat into Assad and would have essentially, eaten out his thing, Russia stepped in. Because we had lollygagged and didn't beforehand, and missed some of the same. And then, once you get someone who's very, very sympathetic to anything that Vladimir would like to happen into office, right? They were totally screwed. And the betrayal that happened over the last few weeks was written in the clouds the second that Donald won the Electoral College. And claimed to have won the popular vote. But again, folks, don't let the gaslighting happen. You need to remember, and a lot of folks will go back to the polls and like, oh, the polls said, yeah, the polls were accurate. They were national polls, though, and they weren't state-focused. Like the Russian effort to target Americans that we've seen. Because that was like zip code focused. Like they would be like, you people who live in this, go try and talk to these people. Go and try and interact. Make sure we get ads in front of them. Yeah, it was. People still don't realize how targeted this whole thing was. So Hong Kong versus the corporations. This is going to be a big thing going forward for a while now. Because, so, again, I think everybody here is generally pretty much capitalist. I mean, it's such an ingrained American ideal at this point, and certainly after the last 30 and 40 years. It's curious, too, because the young generation, the aversion to socialism isn't there anymore. And they're actually, and that's not because capitalism has been so damn successful, folks. It has been, just not for certain folks. But here, you have this thing with China, right? And LeBron really got caught in the squeeze. Zebron, Zaudebron, I don't remember. There's some great nicknames out there if you're really interested in this. Because he's got a new big movie coming out. And again, movies, I don't know if you've noticed over the past 10 years how the bad guys aren't China anymore. China is always like some like really cool superpower kind of helps or whatever. And there's no, it's been interesting to see. And I think the Terminator movie, or not the Terminator, more than meets the eye. The Transformer movies, right? Those are the ones that really started it out. Because they go and they get tons of money from financiers over there and then sell a shitload of tickets and make assloads of money. And then with Space Jam 2 coming out and LeBron being a huge star for 400 million basketball fans. Remember, there are more people that watch basketball in China than live in the United States. And when you start to talk about a signal, right? This basketball game that you can reproduce, you create it once, and it costs the same much to reproduce it for one person as it does for 500 million. There's a lot of money to be made. So, I'm not, I hope don't get from my explanation here of my agreement with that. You need to understand some of the forces that are at work here. And it is curious, how many hospitals could LeBron build here for underprivileged people by selling out Hong Kong, right? And make it. I mean, there's some weird calculations that happen in the real world, folks. And you're going to see more of that on this. You had it also a lot with the gaming community, and you'll see that too. We'll see. I'm curious how much the world's going to spiral into World War. I don't think we're there yet. Again, Obama did a wonderful job, and I think this is why he gets to sit back a little while and hang out, of stabilizing things. But if the elections go sideways next year, things just get ready. Because we probably, and this is not something I was going to talk about, we probably have a recession coming next year or the next two. It's been a while. They cut interest rates today, which, is an odd thing to be doing at this point. We need to be paying money back, ultimately, but we're not doing that. We're cutting interest rates to make our borrowing more attractive to other people. The other thing that and I'm not going to talk about this either, but I'm going to now. I'm curious to see how much tourism has just dropped off the face of the earth in the U.S. just from international tourism, because I know you've seen a big decline in international students, just with visa problems in general, just people not being that interested in the place. But these are those kind of statistics too that, because they're year over year and because they're compiled, and it takes a little bit of a lag time for them to come into picture, you're not going to really start to see what this actually looked like until 3 and 4 and 5 years down the road, right? Until that data has been collected, compiled, you've had experts look at it, you have people write papers about it, right? You have people check those papers. So the stuff that's happening now that a lot of people can feel and see, you're not going to see show up, which is difficult for some people to get because of the instant amazing nature of so much of the data and information that we have out there in the world today. But that's not how everything is, and especially a lot of those mass numbers where you have to, count how many Chinese tourists aren't going to Podunk, Alabama, right? And how far down Yellowstone, or how far down these attendance numbers actually have gone, and differentiate that with what's going on in other ways. So we'll see. Both sides, Patriot Edition. This was a Pew poll. There's a thing that I can't seem to find it. If anybody can find this Pew Research poll, it was talking about how Republicans think like 40-something% of Democrats are gay, and like 40-something% of them are African American. If anybody can find this, it was really interesting because the assumptions that people were most off on tended to be the groups of people that those political parties advocated for, as opposed to the opposition, right? So Republicans tended to think that Democrats were blacker and gayer because that's who they help. Democrats tended to think Republicans were wildly richer than they are because that's who they tend to advocate for. Right? I need to find this. If anybody can find this, I'd appreciate it. But the one I did say I was going to quote for you real part, because this is kind of the dangerous thing I think is kind of happening. It's been undercurrent that's been going on for a while, but just so you understand, it's not like it's not happening. It says, for the most part, Republicans are more likely than Democrats to ascribe negative characteristics to people in the opposing party, with one exception. 75% of Democrats say Republicans are, quote, more close-minded than other Americans, while 64% of Republicans say the same about Democrats. So Democrats are a little bit more likely to say Republicans are close-minded. But then it says, yet Republicans are far more likely than Democrats to view members of the opposing party as unpatriotic. A 63% majority of Republicans say that, compared with other Americans, Democrats are, quote, more unpatriotic. Just 23% of Democrats say the same about Republicans. So this is one of the things that's going to be really, really, it's like, if they can claim that your political party doesn't even represent Americans, you're not going to win elections. It's because you even, like, you don't even, why would you want to if that's true, right? So this is such a false narrative and concept, and it's weird how that confluence, and you've seen this now, as this nationalism has reared its head again, and how nationalism and patriotism start to get intertwined, and certain people, again, those that wish to conflate them, do so. Which starts to get really, really dangerous. And this is where, this is one of the things that I remember reading about the story of Venezuela's fall and how people all the things that people tried to do to stop it. And that was one of the real end dominoes, was when they set up the opposition as un-Venezuelan or un-American, and they fall into that trap and start to take on that role as being against the whole thing. And then that loses whatever mushy middle we have left. So there was a thing that came up in the last presidential debate. about privacy and data, and about taking on big tech. I've got a number of friends who are big Andrew Yang fans. I'm not such a huge fan. He seems like a fine guy, but he's not going to win the nomination. So you should please support whoever does. But this is something that I've been written about for a long time. I think we need like a full-on amendment to the Constitution. And this is what I wrote a little while back on the idea, and it says, the proposed 28th Amendment, the government of the United States shall make no law that infringes upon the right of human citizens of this country to privacy. If information about a citizen is exchanged, that citizen should be informed and have the right to consent or veto such exchange. If monies are exchanged for information regarding a citizen, that citizen is entitled to all proceeds exchanged without informed consent. So the idea here being that privacy, just that word, is a fundamental right that cannot be infringed by law. So this is the way, again, if you read the Bill of Rights, it's a little bit different than the way some other stuff is set up and the way that a lot of these are set up. And the idea here is limiting government by saying the government can't do stuff that does this. Right? Not that this is what we're going to do and prescribe it specifically, but to say, no, this is that whole class of things where you cannot do, or this is that whole class of things that exist. And here, right, the right of human citizens to privacy. So you have now a right to privacy. The idea behind doing it behind an amendment would be like, no, this is as hardcore as you can get to the Constitution. This is going to be as fundamental to it and as simple. And let the courts interpret this. Let everybody who's now saying, well, this says this other thing is happening here, I'd like to get this sorted out. And then, yes, it would be a massive court battle all the way. And it would be one that would be long enough to, make sure that hopefully the Supreme Court's in the right configuration when that happens. By the way, Buttigieg's idea on the 15-member court is ridiculous. Make a new country if you want to try that. This one's, no. But yeah, I do think we need to change this. This is happening in the European Union. And you've seen these data directives and things like that. Probably doesn't affect you if you don't do a lot of international data. If you do, I'm sure you've had to deal with this. And I'm sure you've seen notices from various websites and stuff like that. I would like to see something a little bit more hardcore here in the U.S. The data out there, and I could go into this for a long time because my career for a number of years has been around this, and so I've been aware of it. And it's all the way from college, learning about demographics and how people segment markets, and the whole idea of mass media is built. I mean, the whole idea of mass media really is literally built on using this data and exploiting it. And the way that it's been set up, because our laws don't have that fundamental right to privacy, that you don't own data about you, right? You don't own data about you. And that's what this would change, which I think is a fundamental change that we need to have in order to upend this thing. And it would upend it. But it would take a bit to get that done. So. And lastly, well, not quite lastly, because we'll do a quick little thing, but it's getting a little late. After the Trump tax cuts, and then in 2018, we officially had the wealthiest folks in this country, the wealthiest segment, paying a lower tax rate than basically anyone else, just as an en masse thing. Which is lower, it's like 16, 17, right around that percent. Lower than the median, lower than the average, lower than workers. This is, again, a direct result of tax policy. It's not a fundamental aspect of nature. Like the notion that we have to have a landscape as a country where the rich get richer and everybody else gets screwed is not what it has to be. You literally have a guy who campaigned on the opposite of raising taxes on him and his buddies and then came in and cut them. And now you see the direct result. And this is going to get rough. It can't not. And this is the same kind of thing, and I'm in the same kind of place when I think about it as I was when we were paying for the Iraq war by cutting taxes. And I'm like, this isn't going to work, guys. We can't keep doing this. And so, like I said, the recession's going to come, and it's going to be bad, especially if we don't have smart people in charge. And if it happens like it did last time, it'll be next summer in the midst of the campaign. Now, the last time it happened in 2008, it was different, right? Because the incumbent, whose policies had led directly to the crash, Bush, wasn't running. And everybody was already sick of him and ready for him to be gone. But the other two main candidates, remember, McCain suspended his campaign to go to Washington to vote on bills, right? Yeah. So I'm just saying, folks, just get ready and be ready, because we're doing stupid things. Singularity update. Man, I need to do a whole show on a couple things. I need to do more shows than I will. Like I said, we've been sick around the house, so I'm just trying to hold the line, as it were. Tomorrow is my birthday. I'm gonna be 45 years old. Looking forward to it. It's been interesting. I'll say this, and this is kind of one of the reasons I do some of these videos is because I got some young kiddos, and I might keep all these archives and stuff and be like, hey, Dad liked the news. He was almost funny. But I did want to give a quick shout out to River and Mags and Titus. I love you guys. You guys have been a complete joy in my life. But I did, and I've lived my life in a good way, and I'm pretty happy with it so far. I'm really excited about what's coming next. But I've lived for a while in this mode where, if I had a car accident or whatnot and had to give a recount of things, I'd have been happy with it. Like I would have been getting some stuff that was fun. That was good. And so now I'm looking at, probably the second half of it. Right? Make it to 90, maybe. I don't know. Some of the folks in my family live quite a long time, but I have not lived the cleanest life. So we'll see. I'm probably a little past halfway. I hope you can't hear that. Anyway, that should be about as legit as it gets on the whole getting to 45. Because this, I guess, is about the age when the body starts really falling apart. But the mind doesn't seem to yet. You just happen to know all this stuff that's going on and has happened before, and you see these patterns of it happening again. And on these big international stages, it's interesting. And watching the world change and come back is always interesting. Is an overused word, but that's what it is. It keeps me coming up and makes me want to flip on the phone and the computer in the morning and hit refresh. So hope you guys are experiencing the same kind of stuff. Thanks everybody who dropped by. It's always nice to see folks. And I'll see you around, man. It's going to be a few weeks probably before we get back to you, unless something crazy happens. But peace out, y'all. Have a good night.